Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of the Carnivore Kitchen podcast. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today we're going to be talking about protein and having steak. And if you want to learn how to make a delicious double bacon strip loin cheeseburger, then check out the link in the description. The name of today's episode is Protein is King for Muscle Building. When it comes to building muscle, there are two requirements: consume an adequate amount of protein and provide a sufficient amount of stress to the muscle to elicit a hypertrophy response. We'll be getting into the latter in next week's podcast, but for today, we're going to be discussing protein and why, if your goal is to build muscle, then protein is king. Before we get into what constitutes an adequate amount of protein, I first want to discuss why protein is so important and why it should be prioritized if your main objective is to build muscle. You may have heard the saying, proteins are the building blocks of muscle, but there's so much more to protein than just using it for building muscle. Proteins are essential for the human body and are required for virtually every process within our cells. Aside from being used to build muscle, protein is also required to repair injured tissues and is necessary for our body to naturally detoxify itself. We have three phases of detoxification: Phase 1 bioactivation, Phase 2 conjugation, and Phase 3 transportation. Each detoxification phase requires amino acids to perform its task. However, during Phase 2 of the detoxification process, the conjugation phase, proteinogenic amino acids and non-proteinogenic amino acids play a key role, and some of the key amino acids that are required during Phase 2 detoxification include glycine, glutamine, taurine, methionine, cysteine, arginine, and ornithine. What are amino acids, you ask? Well, proteins are chains of individual amino acids, and when broken down, they can be separated into three groups of amino acids. You have your essential amino acids, non-essential amino acids, and conditionally essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids are amino acids that our bodies are capable of synthesizing ourselves, thus are not required to obtain from our diets. Essential amino acids, on the other hand, are required for optimal health and performance, and our bodies are not capable of synthesizing them. Therefore, we must obtain them from our diet. We also have conditionally essential amino acids, which some humans cannot synthesize and must obtain from the diet, although this is primarily the case for infants or people suffering from some type of pathophysiological illness. In total, we currently know of 21 to 24 proteinogenic amino acids. Depending on the physiology textbook that you are reading, 8 to 10 of those are considered essential amino acids, 5 to 6 of those are considered conditionally essential amino acids, and 6 are classified as non-essential amino acids. The 8 essential amino acids can easily be remembered by the use of the mnemonic TV till 8 p.m. Threonine, valine, tryptophan, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, phenylalanine, and methionine. The number 8 in TV till 8 p.m. represents the number of essential amino acids, and if we were to include the remaining 2 essential amino acids, which some physiology textbooks will list as conditionally essential amino acids, then we would just modify the mnemonic to TV till 10 p.m. to include the amino acids arginine and histidine. This leaves us with 5 remaining conditionally essential amino acids, which can be remembered by the use of my own mnemonic, tyrannical car sick Godzilla gourd Popeye: tyrosine, cysteine, glycine, glutamine, and proline. The 21 to 24 amino acids that fall into those 3 categories are referred to as proteinogenic amino acids. Proteinogenic amino acids are the amino acids that are incorporated biosynthetically into proteins during translation in order to create proteins, and if you want to build muscle, it's necessary that you are consuming an adequate amount from high-quality protein sources. You can consider a high-quality protein source foods that contain the most amount of proteinogenic amino acids in adequate amounts and that has a high bioavailability, meaning that they are much more easily absorbed and utilized by the body. When it comes to a food and protein, we have 2 categories of foods: complete proteins and incomplete proteins. Complete proteins are foods that contain all of the essential amino acids in adequate amounts, while incomplete proteins are foods that are either lacking in certain essential amino acids or contain very small quantities of certain essential amino acids. All animal products are complete proteins and have a higher bioavailability of protein and include foods such as meats, seafoods, eggs, and dairy products. Incomplete proteins are foods such as all plants, nuts, and seeds, and most grains, and have a lower bioavailability of protein. This is one of the reasons why it is much easier to build muscle and requires a lot less effort if you are consuming a meat-based diet as opposed to a plant-based diet. This brings us to the key question you have all been waiting for. How much protein do I need to consume to build muscle? Well, as with everything, it is going to depend on your goal. Are you trying to simultaneously lose weight and build muscle? Do you want to maintain your weight while building muscle? Or are you trying to gain weight and build muscle? Depending on each of these goals, your protein requirements will differ. The key to protein intake and muscle building is that you want your muscle protein synthesis to exceed your muscle protein breakdown. This means that your protein requirements are going to come in a range, and that range is going to be anywhere from 0.8 grams to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, depending on your goal. If your goal is to lose weight, then you need to be in a caloric deficit, and when you are in a caloric deficit, your body is going to be in a more naturally catabolic state, which means that your protein requirements are going to be a lot higher. If your goal is to gain weight, then you need to be in a caloric surplus, and when you are in a caloric surplus, your body is going to be in a more naturally anabolic state, which means that your protein requirements are going to be lower. Now, the protein recommendations I'm about to share with you are my bare-ass minimum protein intake recommendations. You will not find these in any nutrition textbook. At the time of filming this, Wednesday, February the 1st, 2023, I have been coaching clients for over 18 years, treating patients for over 12 years, and have helped over 500 people with a success rate of over 99%. And these are the protein intakes that I have personally found to be the most effective in my practice. It's also worth noting that these are just starting points and should be adjusted accordingly. If you are very overweight, meaning that you are between 25 to 50% of your healthy goal weight, and you want to simultaneously lose fat while building muscle, then you want to multiply your body weight in pounds by 10 to determine your estimated daily caloric intake and consume at least 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. If you are following a carnivore diet, then your protein to fat ratio should be somewhere between 60% protein and 40% fat to 50% protein and 50% fat. If you are following a ketogenic diet, then your protein to fat to carbohydrate ratios should be somewhere between 60% protein, 35% fat, and 5% carbohydrates to 50% protein, 45% fat, and 5% carbohydrates. If you are slightly overweight, meaning that you are within 25% of your healthy goal weight, and you want to simultaneously lose fat while building muscle, then you want to multiply your body weight in pounds by 12 to determine your estimated daily caloric intake and consume at least 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. If you are following a carnivore diet, then your protein to fat ratio should be somewhere between 40% protein and 60% fat to 35% protein and 65% fat. If you are following a ketogenic diet, then your protein to fat to carbohydrate ratios should be somewhere between 40% protein, 55% fat, and 5% carbohydrates to 35% protein, 60% fat, and 5% carbohydrates. If you are at a healthy weight and you neither want to gain nor lose weight, but you want to simultaneously lose fat while building muscle, then you want to multiply your body weight in pounds by 14 to determine your estimated daily caloric intake and consume at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you are following a carnivore diet, then your protein to fat ratio should be somewhere between 30% protein and 70% fat to 25% protein and 75% fat. If you are following a ketogenic diet, then your protein to fat to carbohydrate ratios should be somewhere between 30% protein, 65% fat, and 5% carbohydrates to 25% protein, 70% fat, and 5% carbohydrates. If you are at a healthy weight, but you want to simultaneously gain some weight and build some muscle, then you want to multiply your body weight in pounds by 16 to determine your estimated daily caloric intake and consume at least 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. If you are following a carnivore diet, then your protein to fat ratio should be somewhere between 20% protein and 80% fat to 18% protein and 82% fat. If you are following a ketogenic diet, then your protein to fat to carbohydrate ratios should be somewhere between 20% protein, 75% fat, and 5% carbohydrates to 18% protein, 77% fat, and 5% carbohydrates. Lastly, if you are underweight and would like to get to a healthy weight and build muscle, then you want to multiply your body weight in pounds by 20 to determine your estimated daily caloric intake and consume at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you are following a carnivore diet, then your protein to fat ratio should be somewhere between 20% protein and 80% fat to 18% protein and 82% fat. If you are following a ketogenic diet, then your protein to fat to carbohydrate ratios should be somewhere between 20% protein, 75% fat, and 5% carbohydrates to 18% protein, 77% fat, and 5% carbohydrates. Remember, these are your bare-ass minimum protein requirements. If you find that consuming higher fat isn't satiating enough for you and that you need to eat more food, just increase your protein intake and decrease either your fat intake or your carbohydrate intake, as on a calorie per calorie basis, protein will be more satiating than fats and carbohydrates. You don't want to sacrifice protein if your goal is to build muscle and lose fat. Also worth noting is that if you are severely overweight, meaning that you are more than double what your healthy goal weight should be, then you can use the protein requirements given for a very overweight individual and use those protein requirements based on your goal weight and then multiply your current body weight by 8 to determine your estimated caloric intake. As a hypothetical, let's say that you are 500 pounds and your goal is to be 180 pounds. 180 pounds multiplied by 1.5 is 270 grams of protein, and your estimated caloric intake is 4,000 calories per day. You can also bump up your protein all the way up to 2 grams of protein per pound of your goal body weight if you find that you are still hungry. Therefore, if you are a severely overweight individual, then your macronutrient ratios would be as follows. If you are following a carnivore diet, then your protein to fat ratio should be somewhere between 27% protein and 73% fat to 36% protein and 64% fat. If you are following a ketogenic diet, then your protein to fat to carbohydrate ratios should be somewhere between 27% protein, 68% fat, and 5% carbohydrates to 36% protein, 59% fat, and 5% carbohydrates. You want to make sure that what you are doing is sustainable, which means you want to take the slow and steady approach. Don't be in a rush. If you are losing between 0.5% to 1% of your total body weight in fat every single week, then that will be a good, sustainable goal. That means that if you are a 200-pound individual, then you should be losing anywhere from 1 pound of fat to 2 pounds of fat each week. If you're not, then you'll either need to make adjustments by either decreasing your calories or increasing your protein ratio. Also remember to modify the numbers accordingly. Weigh yourself on a regular basis and adjust the numbers based on what your current weight is and which category you fall under. If you do all that, then you'll be a lean, mean, ass-kicking machine.
Thanks for hanging around until the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video and comment down in the comment section, as it would really help out with the algorithm. And also share this video so we can help get this information out to as many people as possible. And also subscribe to the channel by clicking on the icon in the bottom right-hand corner and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the videos. For those of you interested in health optimization, you can check out the video in the top right corner where I discuss the 6 foundation principles. And for those of you interested in optimizing your performance, then consider becoming a member. It's only $5 per month, and you get a ton of perks, including exclusive access to this program design lecture series playlist above my head.